Like, I don't understand the way they're holding the guns. Like, it's like, what?
Well, not only that, who thought this looked good? Nothing about it looks good.
Yeah, it looks like...
Why did they do this?
I'm bringing this up on the screen right now so everybody can see what the fuck this looks like, what I'm talking about. Like, what the fuck? Like...
Why?
Oh! Buddy Shotz, number 63. Starring Wild Tales and The Strain. But go ahead. Continue with your amazement.
We're almost at 64. We're going to do something special for 64?
I don't know. It's Matt Week. What do you think?
64-bit.
64-bit. 32-bit. 16-bit. 8-bit. The wrist watch! I'm like, Jesus. AVGN style.
My first 16-bit machine.
It's like, what does it mean? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should have. I honestly thought about that, but I was like, well, that's Matt Weeks, so I don't know. I would have to be like...
Get it, Jake. It's Matt Week.
Push it back. But we'll have to talk about that. We'll see. Maybe there'll be some surprises. It's a little surprise. So how have you been, even though I just saw you yesterday?
Pretty good.
Anything happened over the last 24 hours that I should know about, Nathaniel?
Just another day.
Another day?
Living the dream.
Another day, but you lived in a sleazy way. You're like slithering along the ground. I'm like, oh. Yeah, that place.
I went to work today, but I did it in a sleazy way.
You walked into work like with your pants down, with like Ace Ventura style, talking with your butt. It's like, what? Like he did it in a sleazy way. So yeah. Anything else before we go on to our first segment, sir?
Let's get into it.
Get into it. To the nerd. NYRDNEWC. Nerd news.
Nerd news.
Lol. So, what news do you have that you'd like to offer this, Buddy Boy Nation?
Well, it's funny you ask.
Because I don't have any. You just leave Discord, and I'm like, never hear from you again.
So there's a funny bit of nerd news.
Oh, man.
It's about...
this is funny.
Lord of the Rings.
Ah.
I guess someone was interviewing Gandalf, Ian McKellen.
They were interviewing the wizard.
The real Gandalf.
But not Ian McKellen. They're like, where the fuck are the hobbits?
They asked him if he like took any props or kept anything from making the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And here's his quote. And if you don't tell anyone, I can tell you that I have some of those gold coins, along with the front door key to Bag End, which I know Peter Jackson is looking for, but will never find. Like, dude.
It's like, okay, you sold everyone.
Yeah.
We'll never find.
We'll never find.
It's like locked, and it's like one of those locks in a movie that like you couldn't blow it open or anything. You have to have the key or it's forever locked. And he's like been trying to get into Bag End, a set, forever. He's like, I can't get in. I can't just walk around this fake fucking door.
Or he's been locked inside the whole time. He's just trying to get out.
That's why he's lost all that weight. He's like, I'm fucking stuck inside this hobbit hole.
He's like, I can't get out of here. I'm going to have a heart attack.
I must find the key that Gandalf would never steal. Yeah, I
thought you'd think that was funny.
So what do you think about like people like that? I feel like that's totally justified for people that like work on sets that are like obviously like the stars and stuff, like to like take something.
Oh yeah.
Like I know that like a lot of like, I mean obviously it's like they took it, but I'm sure if they asked they would just give it to them because they like made the company a shit ton of money. But I know that like I think like Ryan Reynolds says he's like taken a bunch of like Deadpool suits at one point, and he's got like, you know, like people have. I know that like what's his face? Ewan McGregor said that he like took a bunch of lightsabers and shit, and I think so did Hayden Christensen. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's just like something that they should give you regardless. But that's cool. Like, I think like the only person I heard that doesn't give a fuck about that stuff is like Harrison Ford. They're like, did you ever take anything off the set? He's like, a paycheck. Like, he doesn't give a fuck about like any of the merchandise.
Yeah,
it's like another paycheck for him. But that's hilarious, dude, and it's awesome. Yeah. I like that. I like it. I like this. Cool. A little bit of fucking magic mixed with some Hobbit End. I like this. I like this. He's looking for the key, the One Ring to rule them all. We actually talked about this today.
It may be lost, but he'll never find it.
Yeah, it's like, you were my perfect friend. Fucking bag it in.
Peter Jackson, my good friend and buddy.
Fucking Hobbit in. So I actually talked about this yesterday with you, like the Ghostbusters game. So this is not new to you, but it is new to people that haven't heard about it. Makes sense.
That's actually pretty much true of everything.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, guys, thanks for coming by.
See you next time.
Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed. 4v1 game made by the same people that did Predator and the better one to me was the Friday the 13th game, but they ran into like issues with licensing for that game and had to just completely stop coming out with updates, which sucked because that game was actually really good, I thought, and then the Predator game was not. But
that's cool.
I think this will be fun. I think it'll be great. I can't wait to buy it and play. And then my other piece of nerd news is surprisingly, well, not unsurprisingly to, I guess, the success of these, they've hired on James Gunn to continue with DC projects, and like he's making 2 more on top of, you know, like the second season of Peacemaker. So I'm like, people are speculating on what that's going to be, and people thinking, well, it might be like more stuff connected to what he's already done, or like they're going to take something else, and because it's been wildly successful, you know, taking at least like what he's done before. The way he's done it has been successful as far as you know, critically and fan wise. But
not with this critic.
That's true. But
everyone's a critic.
Everyone can have their own opinion and be right or wrong depending on your side of the story. So do we have any
No one's perfect down here on Earth.
Except for me. I am Christ Jr. So, do you have any buddy tales?
Christ 2.0.
Oh, yeah. AVGNs. 2 AVGN references in one episode. What more can you ask from the Buddy Shots? Just don't ask us to reference the movie. We just did. Any buddy tales this week?
Nothing from my side.
Yeah. This is a segment that, like, I like the idea of it, but it's also one of those things where I don't know. I guess I'd have to, like, you know, sit down. It's like Recommendation Nation. I don't really have something every week, so yeah, no recommendations.
Buddy tales are pretty special. You can't expect one every week
or every month.
We'll see.
We'll see if the segment that you brought up becomes a staple and makes everyone yearn for more. So no recommendations. Let's see here. Okay, well, let's go to our first segment, or a second segment, or first segment. Well, no, this is a second segment. Fuck it. Redo. Cut. This is a segment that we just started, and I like it. I think it's a staple of the show after Nerd News. It's Weird Watches, where we watch the first episode. Weird Watches, where we watch the first episode of a show and talk about it. At first it was like we watched the first episode of a show like neither one of us has seen, but we kind of broke that and said fuck it, which I think is fine. I don't really care that neither one of us, you know, haven't seen it. I think just the whole thing of getting a TV show on here and then like also a movie is pretty cool. Like we get like the best of media and stuff. I was actually thinking eventually, like if like I was thinking of maybe doing a thing where like if a movie or a show we have on Weird Watches or like the feature of the week ends up having a video game, I'll try it out, or you could try it out, and we could like depending on who has the most time, like we could give our opinions on it and stuff. Because like the reason why I thought of that is because last week you were talking about all the video games they made for Lupin, like for Castle of Cagliostro that I'd never played, and I was like, man, that would have been like perfect if I had like actually like played those and talked about them or reported on them. But
that's cool.
It's a good idea. So yeah, this time we're talking about The Strain. I picked this one out. This came out on FX, and it ran from 2014 to 2017, and created by, which I didn't know until we started watching this, but it was created by Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan, based on their novel trilogy of the same name. Carlton Cuse serves as executive producer and showrunner, and del Toro and Hogan actually wrote the pilot, and del Toro directed it, Night Zero. And 13-episode first season was ordered, and it ran, like I said, for 14 to 2017. But the premise of the show is it centers around Dr. Ephraim Goodweather, who like they call F in the show, which I didn't get that for the longest time. But the head of this, but I understand it now. I guess the head of the CDC's New York-based Canary Project, who is called upon to investigate an airplane landing wherein everyone aboard is dead. What his team discovers is a viral outbreak that has similarities to an ancient strain of vampirism. The virus begins to spread, and Goodweather works with his team and a group of the city's residents to wage a war to save humanity. And
what'd you think?
I watched the first season, actually, of this show.
Like, holy cow.
I've watched it over like the last couple days. So I really like this show. I thought I probably would, but I wasn't sure, like, how it was going to go. It's funny because it's a lot. It reminds me a lot, like, once it gets going, of, like, almost like The Walking Dead, but, like, a lot more stuff happens a lot quicker in this show, like, once you start watching it. Because, like, the first episode, like, sets everything up, and then from there, like, yeah, it just is kind of off to the races. So, like, yeah, the first season I really enjoyed. But we're talking about the first episode here. So, yeah, it's funny because it's definitely a setup, but like once things get going, it kind of shifts, you know what I mean, to more action and stuff like that.
Okay.
This is a slow build, obviously, in the first episode to a degree. What did you think?
I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
There's some cool stuff in it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But there wasn't a whole lot of like new to it that I hadn't seen before. Like, it's the vampire thing has been done to death at this point.
I mean, never in this way. Like
like vampires exist and there's a secret society. Like, I've seen that before in many shows and movies, and yeah, it was different that it's a virus and they're the little worm dudes and stuff.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the biggest hook for me, was that it was like they took that idea and brought it into like the modern day, where like you have this guy that's like, his whole thing is he's takes things from a scientific standpoint, but like he can't really understand that like the way the virus works, because it has like, I guess this is also going off of like the rest of the season, but it's more like it's both like a virus, but it's also very like there's supernatural aspects to this show as well as you get into it, because it is a virus, but they have other stuff in it, like this master guy can like control all these dudes that he fucking like has infected, so it's kind of like that. But
Master was kind of cool, I thought, although it was very similar to like the Frighteners, like a big cloak.
Yeah,
type, like,
I mean,
he does.
Did they even show him in this first episode?
They didn't show it. They just showed like the
Okay.
cloak kind of.
Yeah,
floating around
like
and
they
stuff.
show him like in the later season of the show, and it's like definitely different than any other vampire I had seen before. But just going off the first episode, yeah, it's kind of hard to like, you know, be like I can justify. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it being
so
too
there's the one
different
scene
off
where
the first episode.
Yeah, he like bit a guy and sucked
Mhm.
all of his blood out, and he became like a little skeleton. And
Yeah.
then he like he broke his neck and crushed his skull. I was like, good lord, man.
Yeah, that was the weirdest thing because
Then
like
he ran away, and
Yeah.
it was like super comical. He was like, wee, like flew away.
yeah, I thought you would probably bring that up
I was laughing.
because it was pretty ridiculous, which is weird because like that's what's so weird because in this first episode it's almost completely different than the rest of the show because the rest of the show it's like the character like
Sometimes that's the way
Yeah.
pilots are. That's why they're
Right.
weird watches.
right, but the master is like they in the rest of the first season they never have anything like that where he just like goes absolutely fucking shit insane on someone and after he like sucks all their blood he like crushes their head. He just he just sucks their blood and that's it. Like there's no like, you know what I mean? Like you said, like fucking ridiculous. And there's no like weird movement. Like when he like goes away, he does it like in a fast way. He does it in a sleazy way. But like it's not like you said, yeah, because like they're like when he retreats, it's weird because he retreats like in a way where he's scared of something, but like there's nothing for him to be scared of. You know what I mean? Like you said, he finishes what he did, and then he like it's like a haunted house
He's
thing.
the scarer, not the scary.
Right? Yeah, it's kind of like, But we've got Samwise Gamgee's in this fucking first episode, in the season or whatever. What's his name?
Sean Astin.
Yeah, Sean Astin.
From the Goonies.
Goonies. What else has he been in? Fucking Lord of the Rings, obviously. Rudy, I think. I don't know. I never seen that
Rudy.
movie, but I remember he was in that movie. A bunch of other stuff.
Another beloved movie that actually sucks. It's a terrible movie.
There you have it. I've never
There you have
seen it. What is it even? What is it?
Don't watch it. It's about a guy who's too. Everyone says he's too like small to play football, but he ends up like triumphing in the end through hard work.
Mm.
But what's shown in the movie was totally not true, and it's just a bad movie.
Well, there you have it. A sports film that was bad.
I'm calling it out.
Shocking. So yeah, like okay, so he's in that. I don't really know. The only other person that was in this first episode that I had like seen in stuff regularly was like the Nazi, or not the Nazi hunter, the well, I guess the Holocaust survivor.
Who was he? I didn't recognize him.
It was like the old guy that fucking hunted vampires. He'd been in Harry Potter. He was in a bunch of other stuff too. And I can't remember exactly what, but he's been in a bunch of stuff. But like he was like the groundskeeper in Harry Potter, and yeah, he was like the guy that's been hunting vampires for fucking ever in the show. And I'm trying to think if there was anybody else that. They had the one dude from Jumanji, like the dad from Jumanji, that played like the fucking businessman or whatever. Like that was on his deathbed.
Robin Williams?
The dad from Jumanji?
I haven't seen Jumanji since it came out. I don't remember.
What the fuck is your
Wasn't he the dad?
problem? No. He was like he was the son. The Father and the Holy Ghost. No, his dad, like, he plays, like, in Jumanji. Remember the guy that hunts Robin Williams? Like, Van Pelt? It's the same guy that plays his dad. It's, like, that actor. He was also in The Mummy, like, that we watched, and I don't know. I don't remember what the fuck the guy's name is. But he's, like, English, and he's, like, whenever they have, like, this British guy that's, like, very British, like, Hunter Society kind of character, like, that's who he is. But he was literally the guy that was, like, you know, like, on his deathbed, and he was, like, getting, like... It's where the German guy comes to see him and stuff. But anyway.
Yeah. I did recognize Corey Stoll. He's like the main guy.
Yeah.
He's been in tons of like TV and stuff.
Yeah, I never heard of this guy until I looked him up.
He's always bald, and I've always seen him bald until this show, so it was like very distracting that he had hair in this one, like a bad wig.
Yeah, I thought that he was. I thought that he had hair, and then when I saw him, he's bald. So it's the opposite for me. I'd never heard of this guy before, and so like I looked him up.
I'm sure I never would have thought about it other than having seen him bald.
Well, like I looked him up, and he's he's bald, and I was like, what? Because in this show he has like a full head of hair, and it's like what?
Not that it matters. I just thought it was a little bit distracting.
I guess if you had never seen him before, it's not distracting. But if you had, you might be like, what the fuck? I will say like his character's kind of a fucking asshole in this show. Like just in general, like he starts to become somewhat of a nicer guy, but I mean he like cheated on his wife, and he's also like he's complaining about his divorce going through, but he like cheated on his wife, and he's also like, I'm the shit, I'm the greatest person here. Like he has such an ego. But that's his character. I actually wrote this down though because it was a line that I thought was interesting. Well, I don't know if it's interesting. I'll let you decide. So they've got like this big coffin or obelisk that they're trying to find out like if it's on the manifest of the plane, but it's not. But it's what is on the manifest is golf clubs, kayaks, 40 generators, and then 10,000 condoms. And I said, wait, what? I was like, okay. And then speaking of like the obelisk, it's like a 9-foot tall condom, or coffin, not a condom. The fuck? My notes I think like just corrected it to that. Yeah, like so, like yeah, the fucking coffin is huge. Like the master in this show is like probably the biggest vampire I've ever seen. It's like.
That's cool.
He's ginormous. And then later in the season, he's actually played by like a dude that's been in a bunch of these like movies. He's like Great Khali style, where he's like huge. Like, yeah, we talked about the dude one of my only big complaint about this first episode is we're playing Sweet Caroline. And that's like the worst song of all time in my opinion. So
and it was not appropriate for what was happening on the show. It was like
if it I mean that's debatable itself because like it
is.
Oh jeez, I didn't expect like No Resistance. What the fuck? You were like, I agree, and I love you.
Debatable.
Well, not like racism, but I understand what you're saying. And I love you for it. You're very open-minded, Matt. I think that's why we get along so well.
That's what I try to do.
You're like, I didn't expect a compliment. I will cherish it and keep it close. But yeah, like, I think I kind of understand what you're saying. Like, I mean, regardless, it was a shit song. I think they were trying to go for this, like, oh, this horrible shit's happening, so we're playing, like, this, like, happy song. And it's like, that's kind of been done to death, in my opinion. I've seen that in other shit. But that was the one thing I didn't like about, like, this first episode. Because everything else I, like, really liked about this. But that they never really did anything else in the show that was like that. So I don't know if that was, like you said...
Yes,
like,
very out of place.
Pilots are very, like, hit or miss. Because, like, the rest of the season is very, like, serious. I mean, there are, like, jokes, obviously. But it's not, like... out of place or anything like this was like, oh, this guy's getting destroyed and,
I did think some of the dialogue and some of the acting was a little bit questionable. Like, there was a scene when the dudes first go to inspect the plane, and I was like, was this like a parody version of the show? Like, the dialogue was so horrible. I was like, seriously? But in other places, it was fine. It was
I don't know about that. I disagree.
It was hit or miss.
I think that's mainly because I guess I didn't have out my, like, maybe I was, like, enjoying it so much I didn't have out my, like, fucking critic's eye at the moment. Maybe if I did and I didn't enjoy it, then I would have, like, been not... You know what I mean?
That's a good sign. That means you're enjoying it.
I did enjoy it. In fact, I did. It's like, wait, what? So let's see here. Yeah, I think that's, I don't know, like that's the thing is like for me it's like I've already watched like 13 episodes of this show, and I started the second season, the first episode like the other night. So like I'll continue to watch this show unless it gets like boring, but it hasn't been boring yet. So like for me at least, so I've been having a good time with it. I personally like would recommend this if like I had like if we had a recommendation nation around still. I would say I would recommend this, but I would also say that like, I mean, as it with anything, like pilots can be kind of like weird. So, you know, there are definitely things that like hooked me about the pilot, but overall, like, it gets way better from the second season, from the second episode on. So, another hit from Del Toro, in my opinion. I like almost everything he's done. And if anything, even if it's not like the greatest thing, it's at least like interesting. Oh, we got J Barbarek 13 is now following. Thank you. Hopefully you're enjoying the podcast. But at least like it
sounded like you liked it, but didn't like it as much as Harry Knowles liked Blade 2.
Well, I don't think anybody could be be that much in love or that perverted and full of themselves as Harry Knowles, but I could be proven wrong, depending. Maybe one of these days I'll come up with a review for Frozen when we do that movie, and it'll be like, this movie is rated G, but this review is NC-17. You have been warned. I'm like, the snow was luscious. It's like, what?
Turned into a wet chin thigh splitter.
Dude, if you wanna read something horrible, you know, or you want to read something just shocking, read that Harry Knowles Blade 2 review. It's like everyone that like on his website,
wild stuff, man.
Yeah,
wild
are
stuff.
like, they literally are all like, what the fuck? I'm gonna like unsubscribe now, which they probably didn't. Knowing those people on that website, they were probably saying that, and they just like stuck around. I mean, honestly, like I would have stuck around just to see what he wrote next, because that was so stupidly horrible. But it was like a car crash. I couldn't like look away.
Yep.
Oh, we got a question here, Matt. You might be able to answer this one. Well, I guess either one of us will. Do you know have you? Or I guess I think we both have heard of Prison Break. Have you watched it?
No. I missed that one when it came out.
Yeah, that's one that I have on.
Good though.
That's the one I have on the list for the weird watches, because it's got both the guys that were in that DC show Legends of Tomorrow, like Captain Cold and like the Heat Gun guy, like they were both in that show. So that's what his name is.
There's a character called Captain Cold?
Yes. Dude, you don't even know the half of it. It's like every one of Flash's villains, their name is like Captain something. There's Captain Boomerang, Captain Cold. It's like, okay, dude.
I would like to watch that show. It looked cool.
Yeah.
I like anything involving prison, but I will ask back. Have you heard of this show, Escape from Dannemora?
They haven't responded yet, but I personally haven't.
It's a great prison show with Benicio del Toro.
Oh, wow.
And Patricia Arquette. It was like a mini series, so there's only like, I forget how many episodes, 8 or 10 or something like that, but it was like better than most great movies, so highly recommend it. That would be my recommendation, Nation.
Ah, nice. Okay, that's awesome, man. Yeah, well, maybe we'll talk about that at one point on our Weird Watches or something.
Yeah, Escape from Dannemora. It's awesome.
Yeah, so we'll have to give it a shot. I don't know how many prison shows I personally have ever watched, but
Oz is on my list that's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to watch that show.
Nice. We'll just watch the last episode of Seinfeld where they all get sent to prison. The greatest that you could ever see. So do you have anything else to say about Del Toro's foray into
No, I hit all my
vampirism?
points.
All your points. You really stuck it to him.
My bullet points.
Fangs for nothing.
Nice.
Okay. So we're going to be talking about our weekly topic here.
Our review had some teeth.
Yeah, it really sunk into you. That one.
You could say it sucked.
Its show was really about vampires. It's like, what? So
it was a real Dracula.
it was a... Oh man. So this week, nominated by our friend Ryan B, Wild Tales. He nominated this, or well, it was on the list.
Of course, he would nominate a foreign film.
Hell yeah!
Such a film snob.
I think Kevin's nominated all foreign films too.
All Asian films.
In fact, they were all watched by us. See our previous episodes. So, Wild Tales, or Spanish Relatos salvajes, is a 2014 Spanish-language black comedy anthology film that was written and directed by Argentine filmmaker Damián Szifron. The film, which is a co-production between Argentina and Spain, is composed of 6 standalone shorts with a common theme of catharsis, violence, and vengeance. Yeah, that makes sense. The film has an ensemble cast consisting of Ricardo Darín, Oscar Martinez, Leonardo Sbaraglia, Érica Rivas, Rita Cortese, Julieta Zylberberg. I apologize. This is a shit show. Darío Grandinetti, and I guess like these actors were like able to choose which role they wanted out of Darín, Martínez, and Szifron. Like, I guess they were like brought on. I think they're kind of like the main leads in some of these. So yeah, I guess right off the bat, what'd you think about this film?
Well,
you'd already seen it, right?
I'm also a film snob because I had already seen it.
You
I
are
remember
a
when
film
it came
snob.
out. I heard about it and it sounded awesome, and I like most anthology movies, so I was pretty excited to see it, and I liked it.
Yeah,
I was happy to see it again and talk about it.
I liked it as well. It's one of those things where like I'm glad I watched it, but I'll probably never watch it again personally. But I don't watch a lot of films again ever.
Yeah, I agree. This one doesn't like scream like rewatchability.
Yeah.
Just because like it's not the most fun like ride.
It's essentially like 6 films where like there are some endings that are funny and there are cool, like good at the end, and you feel good, but like there are a lot that are like fucked up at the end. But even that, it's like once you kind of know what's gonna happen, like I don't really feel the need to go back and watch it again. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's weird because it's a difference between like watching Thing where like you could watch like the Thing where you could watch it multiple times regardless because it has like that hook and like you know what happens at the end, whereas like this one's like you know what happens at the end, but like yeah, I don't really know. I don't know what makes it different. Probably because it's also like it was hard for me to take notes about this because like it's like 6 mini movies, so there wasn't like, you know, it was like by the time I would write notes about something, it would be like, well, this one's over. Like I did have a,
and they're all like
okay.
they're unique stories, but they're all kind of the same in a way. Like it's all about like people making moral choices or amoral choices, and like and there's a lot of like revenge.
Yeah, I don't think there
happening.
was anything here I hadn't seen at some point in another film I had seen. For the most part, there was like a couple things that were like definitely different, but like, you know, I guess we'll talk about that when we get to it. But I kind of started this movie off with a total like fuck up because I started the movie and like didn't have the subtitles on and was like, okay, like what's going on here? And then like I checked and they weren't on, and I was like, yeah.
I'm just imagining you watching the whole movie, like trying to figure out why you can't understand what they're saying.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, this time it makes sense.
It's like they're talking, but English isn't coming out.
Well, it's like unlike that one time when we watched The Raid, and I was complaining about how it was like a language I'd never really heard before, and I was like, this is bullshit. Fucking, I couldn't understand it because, like, you know, they were yelling and groaning, and you're like, well, groans aren't in a different language, and I was like, let's just say I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about, but I think I was a little off-putting because, like, I've heard, you know, like, a bunch of different foreign languages, like, being spoken with subtitles, but that was one I had never heard before because that the raid was... I don't even know where it was, but it wasn't in... It wasn't a language that I ever really have heard, you know, like, regularly, so... That's my only excuse. Yeah. So I don't even know really how to start about going about this because literally it's like there's 6 tales, and I guess we'll just start the first one. And
well, maybe start with your favorite one.
Oh, let's see. What was my favorite one? Trying to like go through my notes to see which ones there were again. I guess we'll go through what did they have? They had like the one where everybody's on a plane. They had the one where, like, the mafia guy comes into, like, a restaurant with the waitress. They had the guy that keeps getting fucked over by, like, the guys that are towing his car. The wedding one at the end. The 2 dudes that, like, got into a fight, like, road rage style. What was the other one?
Well...
Or was there? Oh, and then there was the one where the guy, like, the son was drunk and, like, did a hit and run on a mom and a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess out of those 6, I think my favorite one was the one with the guy that kept getting ticketed. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's cool. For me, I know which one is my least favorite one, and it was the wedding one at the very end.
Yeah, I may have to agree with you on that.
That one, I think that one also is because it overstayed its welcome for me. It seemed like it was definitely, like, the longest one, and even if it wasn't the longest one, it just felt that way. It was definitely,
totally,
for me, unneeded.
I will agree with you, and I think that's probably my only criticism of this movie is, like, I think we kind of got it after maybe 3 or 4
right.
of these stories,
yeah.
And the fact that there's 6, you're like, by the end, you're right. It's like, okay, come on. And the fact that the last one is the longest,
yeah,
like, and or at least it seemed that way.
Yeah, it was the longest, and it was also like at the end of the day, there wasn't really anything that was like. I mean, the other ones were like either it had like an ironic twist or something that was like kind of interesting, and that one was just like, you know, you find out the groom cheated with another chick, and then like the bride has a meltdown and has sex with a cook. And then, like, they end up getting back together or something. And it's like, okay. Like, this wasn't really, like, ironic or, like, smart. It was just a series of like, this was, like, that one could just be called, let's do, like, the most fucked up wedding. It's like, okay.
Yeah, like what can be the most mean-spirited movie you could make? And, like, let's do that.
Yeah, for, the wedding. And it's just like, okay. I mean, there were mean-spirited things in this, but it was like,
oh yeah,
like the the driving, like the road rage thing was actually pretty funny. Like at the very end,
yeah.
That one. That's how you do it right, though, because like
exactly.
Yeah, they got into this fight and they kept like they essentially were trying to kill each other at the end, and they both succeeded, but together. And it's funny because at the end they like. The one guy, like, was hanging the guy with a fucking, like, a seatbelt, and then he's gonna, like, burn the fucking shit, and he was leaving, like, literally he was gonna burn the guy's car, and the guy, like, gets one last gasp of energy, gets out of the fucking noose, grabs the guy, pulls him back in, and he's not able to put out the thing, and the car explodes. And when they get there, it's like, oh, what do you think happened? And they're like, it was a lover's embrace, and they're both like,
they're like holding each other.
Yeah, both skeletons are like holding each other, even though they both like hated each other and wanted to kill each other over some stupid road rage. But it was like, that was way better than the wedding one, where it was like,
yeah, that was probably my favorite one and the high point of the movie, and it was kind of all downhill from there.
Yeah, that one was good. I think, like, to me, my 2 favorite ones were that one and the one where the guy kept getting ticketed, mainly because, like, at the very end, he gets his revenge. And, like, they took everything away from him. Like, his, like, a marriage, like, his daughter, his, like, job. And then he, like, works with explosives and, like, blows up the The Office, but doesn't kill anybody, like the place where they're like taking cars to be charged, and like you have to, like, the impound lot, and he's in jail, and like all these people online are like, we want him to be like released from prison, and like, you know, he's a hero because they find out that the like that company was doing illegal shit, like they were actually, you know, ticketing people that they shouldn't have been ticketing and stuff like that. And so they got shut down, and like he's hailed as a hero, and like everybody is cheering him in prison, and like they're calling him the like Dynamite, and like even the guards are clapping for him, and his like daughter and wife come to visit him and bring him a cake, and it's like I was like, that was probably like the happiest ending out of all of the ones that they did. It was also funny, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think. I think like for sure the wedding one, I think like the first one was nice because it got out of the way like pretty quick.
Yeah, that was my favorite. That's probably my favorite
airplane,
because it was like, it makes you kind of go, what's going on, and then you figure out along with the characters what's happening. Yeah, you're like, oh man.
I think that's the problem, is they kind of led this with like the strongest thing, and then it was kind of like as much as
between that and the opening credits with like the animal footage, I was like, this movie is gonna be amazing, and then it never quite achieves that level of goodness.
Yeah, kind of fast-forwarded through the credits. I was like,
I thought it was really cool.
It was just literally pictures with animals with text. Nothing special, in my opinion. It was very... I will say it was very, like, artsy, which is fine.
Yeah.
So then we have, like, the one where they're, like, the mafia guy comes in and, like... He essentially, like, it's another, like, everything else in this movie where, like, one person gets fucked over by another person, like, their whole life is ruined. That's kind of what happens, like, the mafia person fucks over the waitress, unbeknownst to him, and then the cook that's there is like, oh, let's just put rat poison in his food, and then, like, she's like, no, and then she does it anyway. But it doesn't, like, hurt the guy.
Does it anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt the guy, and his son comes, and he starts eating the food, and he starts getting sick. And then, like, she goes to take the food away, and the guy attacks her, and then the cook comes out and just stabs him to death anyway. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I mean, honestly, the more I talk about this, like, all of them were pretty good except for the last one. The last one was just, I think if they had just done 5 of these and not done the last one, or even 4 or something, like...
Yeah.
The wedding one was just too long, and it sucked. It was just bad. And, trying to
anticlimactic.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just, like, really, like, bad. Trying to think what other ones were there. There was the hit and run, which that one was actually the most probably tense out of all of them to a degree. But then like, I kind of knew this was gonna happen. They pin it on the groundskeeper, and at the end when he goes to like take the rap, the like husband of like the murdered like his wife and his like unborn kid, he like Shaft styles and like beats the guy to death. And it's like, okay, well, I saw that, like, the guy was going to take the rap for it, and then he was going to get killed. You know what I mean? Like, it was pretty, at least I thought it was pretty, like, you know, it wasn't, like, horrible, but it wasn't, you know, great. It was just kind of, like, middle of the road, especially compared to, like, the other ones, like, the plane, the guy getting ticketed, and, like, the road rage. Honestly, if they had just done those 3, that probably would have been, like, I would have been, like, you know, this is a must-watch.
Yeah, or if the themes were a little, not, like, so similar for each one.
Yeah, essentially it's, like, a way that one person fucks with another person, knowingly or unknowingly, and how, like, how it plays out. It's like, okay, well, that's not really any different, like, than, you know... Especially because, like, yeah,
the way you treat people has consequences. The movie.
Yeah. Is there one we haven't talked about yet? I'm trying to think. Like,
I think we mentioned.
I guess we didn't really talk about like in depth. I guess I don't really want to talk about the wedding one, like in depth at all, because it sucked. Let me see at my notes here. So, like, the plane one, like, at the end, he fucking, like, all these people were on board that he's, like, thought slighted him throughout his life, and he, like, crashed the plane into his parents.
It was funny. For me, it was funny enough that he was just going to crash the plane, but the fact
Yeah.
that he crashed into his
You see
his
these
own
two
house.
old people in there, they hear a plane, and then they kind of look up, and then they, like, you know, they
Yeah.
go back to what they're doing, and they look up again, and they're like, you know, like, what is that? And then it, like, freeze frames right before it's about to hit them, and then the credits start, and it was like, okay, this is pretty good.
Freeze frame.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, I overall, like this movie, but for, like, a couple reasons, like, I'll never watch it again, and that's one of the reasons is definitely, like, the wedding at the end was just, like, and, like, we were talking about how, like, it's not different enough, and it's also, like, you know, when I saw this movie was, like, 2 hours, I was like, why?
Yeah, I agree.
It just kind of outstayed its welcome, which is a shame because, like, it definitely started off strong as hell, and that's the thing, is, like, I think they knew which ones were, like, the strongest ones, like the road rage, the guy getting ticketed in the plane, because those ones were more spread out, you know, but not spread out enough, because then they put, like, the fucking wedding at the end, which was the worst one, and it's like, okay, well, you ended the movie on, like, a wet fart, which sadly, like, the last thing you see sometimes is what you remember. I mean, that's probably why I'm going on about it the most,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, you know, that kind of, like, hamstrings your show or your movie because of that fact, which sucks. It's like, you know, this could have been so much better if not for that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth watching,
Mhm.
but I'm with you in that it's, like, probably not one that's a big revisit for me. Just
Yeah,
you kind of get it after one, and there's a lot of, like, unpleasant things that happen.
I think, like,
So-
obviously, like, some of that, like, is, like, funny and worth watching and stuff. Like the part with the road rage where the guy pulls down his pants and like he has an actual shit on the guy's car, and, like, yeah, you see the turds fall out of his ass, and then he turns around and pees on it, and it's like, and the guy's, like, completely defeated, like, more like, you're like, oh shit, and then, like, he's like, you know what, fuck this, and he, like, runs the guy off the road, and then in coming back to try to kill him, he runs himself off the road, and then they both die together, and it's like, that's, like, it was just long enough too where it was like, it started off kind of like the movie Duel or Unhinged, but then it kind of flipped, and the guy was like, kind of like in Unhinged, where, like, she kind of takes control, you know, and it's like, I'm the fucking, you know, I've had enough of this shit. But then it was funny because they both died at the end together, and I think, like, with short stories, like anthologies, they, like, they know they're never going to make a sequel to this short anthology thing, like, as far as they're never going to have this character, any of these characters, go on to do, like, another movie. So they know they can get away with, like, oh, well, since there's never going to be a sequel with this character, I can just kill him if I want to. And that's what makes it so, like they have, like, kind of the what's it called, like, the, you know, I wouldn't say balls, but I guess they have, like, the confidence to just say, fuck it, you know, let's kill both these characters at the end of the story. Why not? You know, in a double death pact kind of thing, which I think is cool. That's what's so cool about anthologies, because you don't see that a lot. You don't see where, like, at the end of, like, you know, at the end of, like, Unhinged, if both, like, the good guy and the bad guy had both died together, like, you know.
Right.
But that's definitely.
What's your favorite anthology movie?
I don't know. That's the thing. Is, like, I'm
You
trying
like Wild Tales.
I mean, the one that comes to my mind the most is, like, Creepshow. Like, when I was, like, growing up, that was the one that I remember. I can't, like, what are other ones you can think of?
Creepshow 2.
Damn. Never thought about it that
There's
way.
been a bunch recently, like VHS.
Right, but they're all, like, horror. I'm trying to think of,
well,
like,
most of them are.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, anthology movies, like, I don't know. Like they're a very niche thing because like you don't see them very often, and that, like I said, they're almost always like, I just looked it up here. There's Creepshow, Cat's Eye, VHS 94, Trick or Treat, Twilight Zone the movie, VHS, The House That Dripped Blood. Oh, that might not be an anthology one. I don't know. Creepshow 2, Tales from the Dark Side, Tales from the Crypt, and then you've got, yeah, like Wild Tales is on here. But it's like, how many of those are horror movies? All of them except for this one. And then I guess to a lesser degree, I guess you could say like, I mean, you can't even really say that like History of the World Part 1 is an anthology because it's just different scenes throughout history. It's not like, you know what I mean? I don't know. So,
yeah.
I mean, I guess for me at least, I would have to say Creepshow maybe because that's the one I've seen. But I haven't really seen any of these other ones. Like, I've heard of them, but I haven't seen like, you know, I remember Creepshow, it was either 1 or 2 had Leslie Nielsen in it. Like,
the first one does.
Yeah.
And he's actually awesome in that because he plays a scary villain and like he does a good job, which is you never would have thought. Like,
I mean, he did serious roles until he broke out as comedy. So like he was doing that, and then it was like he got popular for something he never did. But like,
I just watched it again recently, and I was blown away by how good Leslie Nielsen was.
Stephen King's also in that as like fucking a guy that like gets covered in shit. I think like not shit, but like
mold. Like
yeah, like
mold.
it's essentially like an alien thing like crashes and he gets covered in it and dies. I forget if it's the first one or the second one, but there's like a one where like people are out on this dock and this fucking like ooze tries to kill them.
Creepshow 2.
Yeah.
The Raft.
The Wrath?
The Raft.
Oh, okay. They said The Wrath. I was like, is that the...
You haven't seen Twilight Zone, the movie?
I was never a Twilight Zone person, so I never really...
I'm surprised because Dan Aykroyd's in it.
You were surprised because he was in it, or you're surprised I haven't watched it because he's in it? Oh, John Lithgow's in it, too.
It's pretty good, except there's one segment in that's horrible.
Really?
That ruins the rest of the movie. The Steven Spielberg segment like destroys the whole movie. It sucks so bad.
It destroys the whole movie. Like some guy takes a dump on it. Wasn't there a movie they were making that was like, I don't know if it was an anthology, but it was like Outer Limits movie where like one of the dudes got killed with 2 kids, like a fucking helicopter.
That was Twilight Zone.
Oh, Twilight
Vic
Zone.
Morrow
okay.
got
fucking munched.
killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the helicopter
Good times.
crashed on him. But anyway, that's what I remember from it. Or yeah, that's really the only thing I remember from it, I guess, is that.
And then, so John Landis directed the segment of that movie where that happened.
Yeah.
And then he also directed Coming to America with Eddie Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
And like, he and Eddie Murphy hated each other, and Eddie Murphy hated him. And,
they hate each other, and Eddie Murphy hated him.
And like, after that happened, someone asked Eddie Murphy if he'd ever like work with John Landis again, and he was like, Vic Morrow has a better chance of working with John Landis than I do.
Jesus.
Which is fucked up.
Yeah.
But funny.
I guess that kind of goes in hand with this week's topic of dark comedy.
Yeah. So are you a fan of like the black comedy genre?
I mean, I think...
And would you call this a black comedy?
So what is black comedy? Well, I guess that we should define that for the listeners at home. I'm like, why don't you tell the listeners at home what that means?
Comedy where the humor comes from like something that's demented or like
edgy or
right.
Yeah, it's like edgelord bullshit. Yeah, I think it's fine. It has its place. It's definitely not like, I'm not gonna become a fucking vampire over here overnight, like, edgelord, thinking that's the greatest shit ever. But it's like, I feel like all comedy has its place if done correctly, as anything, like, as well as like any music or any kind of music or any kind of like genre. It's just, if it's done with restraint. If this...
Yeah, I remember the first time I heard that term was when the Cable Guy came out.
Restraint. You were like, ah!
Restraint.
Restrain me.
But The Cable Guy is an excellent example of a black comedy that's
Oh yeah, for sure.
super hilarious and super dark.
Right.
I love that movie.
Yeah, that movie doesn't get enough credit. I think when it came out, people were kind of like, "What the fuck?" Because like Jim Carrey was like kicking ass, and that came out, and everybody was like, "Ugh, what?" I think that was one of his kind of big flops, sadly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's great. It's just like I said, it has to be done right. Like if it's literally just, it's like I equate it to like a bunch of horror movies that like, oh, it's a great movie because did you see that like they cut some guy's head off in this way or that way, or this was done and that was done. It's like, I mean, just because like it's got a ton of gore doesn't mean it's great, or just because it's like they did something so dark that it's like to me like you know, just because they did something just to do it doesn't mean that it should get any praise. It should be like worthy of the praise, if that makes any sense. I don't know. It should do something like that deserves it.
Well, it has to be funny.
Yeah, horror movies all have to be funny. No, I mean like, yeah, I guess I was specifically saying as like the trying to compare it to like, yeah, like a horror movie that uses so much gore that like people are just like, this movie is the greatest horror movie because like Leatherface like just killed a shit ton of people and like there was a ton of gore. It's like, well, was it like would you ever watch it again? Like, you know what I mean? Like, was there like an interesting plot? Was it, you know, shot well? No, it was just he fucking cut the living flesh off a bunch of people. Like, who cares? You know, there's so many better options out there. Just
the living flesh.
The living flesh. Those that kill, get up and kill. It's like, wait, what? The dead, I mean the living, are killing the living. I mean the dead. He's like, I fucked up. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I have no issue with anything like that. I don't like specifically go out of my way to like search for anything like specifically like that. But if it's in a movie, I'm not gonna like specifically be like, fuck this. You know, I guess I've kind of stated on the podcast before, the only genre that I like, we're kind of the opposite in this respect, which is totally fine. But like, I kind of tend to shy away from fantasy, like as far as like more specifically medieval fantasy stuff, or just medieval stuff in general. I don't find that interesting, but a lot of people do. Whereas like I kind of go towards the genre of like sci-fi, whereas some people are like, that sucks. But like, that's my whole thing. That's as far as genres go of just in general stuff. That's really the only thing I kind of have a favoritism or non-favoritism towards. I mean, what do you did you like? Just in general, like black comedy and stuff. You were saying, like, you think it's okay?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Love it.
here we got a fucking edgelord over here. He's loving it. Have you had your break today?
It's okay.
It's okay. It's all right. Jesus told me so. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Speaking of black comedies,
do you have anything to say about that, or not that specifically about this movie?
no, I mean, I don't think I thought we might not have a ton to say about it just because the segments are so similar in their themes.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think it's a good movie, worth watching for sure. Definitely glad to have seen it, and yeah, I think we gave it a fair shake as far as the pros and cons of what we liked and what we didn't like. I think we pretty much agreed on everything.
I think if I had to like, I mean, like, you know, I would definitely recommend it, but I wouldn't recommend it over some of the other films like we've watched. Like, as far as like, if I was making a list of like, which that would be kind of cool eventually for us to make a list and kind of put it up there of our top films to recommend people. But like, if I was like saying, hey, like recommend or no recommend, yeah, recommend this film, but I wouldn't recommend it above a bunch of the other stuff we watched that we recommended, if that makes sense. Like, this would be kind of lower on my list, but not because I hated it, just because there's better stuff out there in my opinion to watch. But if you got a shit ton of time and you just want to be watching a bunch of movies we recommended, you know, I guess you'll get to it eventually. Try to just look through my notes here to see if there's really anything else that I put down that was of any note, because this is also one of those things where, like, you really have to watch it to kind of experience it, I guess. I mean, we can talk about, like, essentially every single thing that happens, but that's more so just us recounting the film. It's not, you know, that's kind of, you run a fine line when you kind of, like, do these, like, podcasts and reviews, is it's like, I don't want to completely recap the movie, but, you know, you kind of have to like talk about some of the stuff that happens, but then it's like, well, that's the whole thing, because these things are like 11 minutes long a piece or more, depending. I guess there was one part that I guess we didn't talk about that I kind of forgot about, but like with the whole hit and run thing, like, what'd you think about like all the people that wanted to get like a huge cut of like the money, like once they found out like the one dude was getting like $1 million, and then he was like, I think that I should be making $500,000, I think I should be making this much, and he was like, you know what, fuck this, you know, if my son wants to confess, I'm just gonna have him confess. Like, I thought that was hilarious that like at a certain point he was just kind of like, you could tell they were just trying to like bleed him dry for money, like get what they could, and he was just like, I don't give a shit, you know, like, my son wants to confess, so you guys are screwed. And that's when like they were all like, well, actually we're all fine splitting a certain amount. I was like, yeah, I don't know, I don't really have anything else to say about this film.
It's almost like human nature is inherently greedy.
And apparently greedy as well.
Apparently
it's greedy. Okay. So I don't know, man. Unless we really have anything else to say, unless you want to somehow come up with a thesis on this film, this might be the shortest episode we've ever had of the podcast.
We already did. How you treat people has consequences. The movie.
Well, that's not a thesis, that's a statement, but
that's my thesis.
You just got an F.
And
in thesis.
I'm a member of the human species.
Is this real? This is real. Oh, actually, I had a note that I forgot to talk about at the very beginning. It's just a small little thing. But when it said K&S Films, I thought that this was a Kenny Spenny production at first. But then it's like completely something else. And I was like, damn it. But just a small little note.
You thought that Kenny and Spenny had made a movie that you didn't know about.
I did. I was kind of like, holy shit, dude. They're spreading their wings.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but it wasn't, sadly. It was not Kenneth Joel Hotz or Spencer Nolan Race. Is it sad that I know their full names?
Address them by their proper names.
me Kenny and me Spenny. So I guess, do you want to move on to like what
what's your rating?
Oh shit, thank you once again. You've saved this podcast, because every week I just say fuck the rating. You know, honestly, I didn't even write a rating down. I guess I'll come up with one now.
You're on the spot.
I don't know. So there were 6 of these tales, so maybe like I liked a third of the film. Or no, I liked half. So I guess like I give it like a 5.95. Maybe.
Okay.
Because like, you know, if I liked half of them, that's half the movie. So I only specifically hated one of them. I just thought the other 2 were like so. So either a 5.95 or like a 6.95 if I'm being really generous. But I mean, I guess half of 9.95 isn't 5 or 6, but you know, I like certain ones a lot, and I liked other ones not a lot. So, what about you?
All right, I'm going 7.95.
There you have it. He liked it a lot.
But I would say probably 90% of the movies I've ever seen, I would give 7.95 because I like most movies.
Yeah, you give out 7.95 quite a lot, but you can
like
give out whatever you want.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, a standard would be like, I mean, I guess unless I deliberately really hated something, like, yeah, I don't know. I just had to I have to weigh it with everything else. I just don't have really a standard number.
Yeah. That's cool.
So, but I don't know. Are we gonna do for 64? Are we gonna do a special episode, or are we gonna do just Matt?
Yeah,
Week?
Special because it's Matt Week.
Shit. So Matt Week, we'll have to. Yeah, I should have planned this out more because for Steak Belmont 64, I should have done something for the channel. But I guess you thought about it really before I did. So I mean, it's just another number.
The fact that you deliver such content every week, that's special in itself.
I agree. We'll do something for like our 100th episode, very special. I can guarantee you that.
I'll think about it.
Fuck you. I'll think about it. What the hell is that supposed to mean?
How could you say that to a buddy?
You're right. I'm sorry.
Buddies don't say F you.
That's true.
Buddies got a hug.
We're also like longtime buddies. We're buddies like VIP style. Very important, or VIB, very important buddy.
Get a Vib over here.
That's weird.
Change the name of the show to Vibs.
Oh my god. Yeah, that sounds totally legit. Vibs. That'll be even more like people are like, "What the fuck is this?" We're already getting people misunderstanding what this podcast is. That this even is a podcast.
I thought I was gonna watch a movie on YouTube. Instead, I heard a podcast.
Yeah. Anyway, so what are we watching next week? So we've got you're controlling both the horizontal and the vertical feature film.
I'm thinking in all three dimensions.
It's like what? So Weird Watches and the feature film. So what are we watching for Weird Watches?
I realized that both of us, especially me, have been picking like a lot of the times movies we love or movies we think are awesome and want to talk about.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm gonna switch it up this week.
This may be our best episode ever.
A movie that I don't think is gonna get a 9.95 from anyone, but I really want to talk about it because I'm like fascinated by it.
Have you seen it?
And I can't. Yeah.
Okay.
But I can't. It's kind of like Tusk. Like I can't figure out if it's amazing or total nonsense.
Oh shit.
But we're gonna watch from 1998, A Big Hit.
Big Hit. Okay.
Starring Marky Mark.
This is the feature film, right? Big Hit. Okay. So what's the Weird Watches then?
Weird Watches is some early work from Tom Hanks in Bosom Buddies.
Is this another thing that we might not like?
Yes.
Okay. Bosom 2B things. These are VIBs. Very important bosom buddies and big hits. Yeah, I don't think I've never seen Big Hit before or Bosom Buddies, so this could go one of two ways.
Let me just tee it up.
Yeah, go ahead.
This movie came out when we were in high school, and I didn't see it then. I saw it much later. But, this movie is so 90s and so 1998. Like, I literally felt like I was in a time machine when I was watching it. It's, like, the most 90s movie ever.
Well, didn't this movie also come out around the same time Godzilla came out?
Same year.
Yeah, so 98. It's like... Yeah. I remember this poster, though, because it has fucking...
Your boy Lou Diamond Phillips.
Yeah, Lou Diamond Phillips on the front. We got
You're gonna love him in this movie, dude.
We got Mark Wahlberg, we got Lou Diamond Phillips, Christina Applegate, Bokeem Woodbine, and Antonio Sabato Jr. So some of these people I've heard of before. Dude, all the posters they have for this are so fucking ridiculous. Like,
it's one of the most ridiculous movies I've ever seen.
I can't even, like, with this one right here, it's like, like, where they're all holding guns, but it's so photoshopped.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see. It's, I'm excited just because I honestly, we were talking about this after like last week, with Cagliostro off, after the podcast, and I was saying I actually kind of like it sometimes when we like talk about stuff that we've either never seen or we both don't like love, because when we talked about like Cagliostro and stuff, like you liked it, but like obviously you're not. It's not like one of your favorite movies of all time, like it is for me. And like same thing with like Universal Soldier 5. Like you loved that film, and I didn't like it, and I just felt bad, talking kind of shit about it. But I feel like I always have more fun when not we're on the same page, but we talk about something that neither one of us have huge affection for. If that makes any sense, I don't know.
Yeah, this is more in the Cruel Jaws vein of a pick.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's always fine.
Can't believe what you're about to see. So.
Yeah, we'll see. Do you see that picture I sent in Discord? It's like, what the fuck?
Let me check it out.
It just doesn't make any sense. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, why? Like, I don't understand the way they're holding the guns. Like, it's like, what?
Well, not only that, who thought this looked good? Nothing about it looks good.
Yeah, it looks like...
why did they do this?
I'm bringing this up on the screen right now so everybody can see what the fuck this looks like, what I'm talking about. Like, what the fuck? Like...
Why?
So that's what we got to look forward to for next week. I love Diamond Phillips, and I actually like Mark Wahlberg as well. I'm not like a Mark Wahlberg hater. Like I understand, like I'm not like a lover or anything, but like I understand where people are coming from with certain stuff where they're like, oh, he's not an actor and all that stuff. But I don't know. I feel like acting isn't really that hard, to tell you the truth. I've done it before, and I have to act like I give a shit every time I do one of these. So that's not true. I don't act about that because I love you, Matt, and I love the buddies. So,
I only love Vibs.
Very important, buddies. You looking for a Vib? I hear your belt jingling there, boy.
I think I hear a Vib in there.
A Vib? More like a Mib.
You in there vibbing off?
Masturbation in bathroom. MIB. It's like... just reference 2 buddy tales that we could probably talk about, both involving my bathroom fuck-ups. Actually, it wasn't a fuck-up on my part. I just got fucking... You know what? We'll just save it for next week.
You got scared.
Yeah. I got scared, yeah, because I was thinking of rape happening to me.
Good Lord.
Well, what the fuck? We'll talk about... Okay, so I'm putting this down for next week. MIB and fucking bathroom belt jingle.
Those are all you, man.
Hell yeah. I don't give a shit to, like, put my...
Not touching it.
To embarrass myself for the podcast. I've made a career out of embarrassing myself.
You're gonna look like Bokeem Woodbine in this poster.
Yeah. I'm literally gonna, like, tell a joke so horrendous that I'm gonna just fucking have no expression on my face for the rest of my life.
Let me just give you one more piece of prep on this movie.
Okay.
There's a touch about Bokeem Woodbine's character.
The touch.
That I think is one of the funniest and stupidest things I've ever seen in a movie, and it cracks me up every time I think about it. So,
yeah.
Anyways.
Oh, nice.
It'll be fun to talk about.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Nice Gorilla shirt. I agree. I like it. I love this. This is probably like one of my favorite bands. We should do I don't know. I guess I wish we had a then again, who goes to websites anymore? I was gonna say I wish we had a website, but I guess like we don't really need a website. But it would be nice. I'd like
to
up
on MySpace, bro.
Oh yeah, Scrooge McDuck is in my top 5. So I would love to do either an episode or, well, it probably wouldn't be an episode, but like something where we could like let people know what our like top 5 movies and top 5 like, I don't know. I think we've talked about it before.
Just do it.
But it would just be it'd be cool to have like a list that people could go to, because we're Ebert and all these guys, they're good, but we're great. So, sorry to say, if you're so good, why don't you, if you're so good, Ebert, respond to this fucking message.
You have 1 week to respond.
Yeah. Roger
or else
Ebert.
You're not good.
Roger Ebert at Gene Siskel, you have 1 week to respond to this call out. If not,
otherwise we're taking your thrones.
All of your credit will be forfeit to me, Mike, and me, Matt, of the Buddy Shots podcast. So, next week we're talking about the big hit and bosom buddies. Ugh. So this will be fun. A list of episode could be cool. Do a couple of genres. Yeah, that would be cool too, for sure. But do you have anything else to say for this episode before we sign off?
That's it.
That's it. Well, you, as usual, you can watch all of our episodes, past episodes, on YouTube, Steak Belmont 64, and they will be edited. We don't really cut anything out. I just kind of like add music and stuff. I'm really selling it, aren't I? But it's nice because you can watch it on YouTube, and you don't have to go on Twitch, which they're not really great for going back and watching old episodes of shit. So nope. I guess until next time, this is Mike. I want to thank everybody. You can get in contact with us on Steak Belmont 64 on all socials, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. Actually, we're Buddy Shots on Facebook, but yeah, I guess just contact me and I'll let Matt know if you have a question for him. So go ahead and I'll let you have the last word. Until next time, everybody, we'll see ya. I'm gonna let Matt play us out.
Bye.